I was just watching a Pee-wee Herman doc.
I was watching it too. We were watching it last night. It was amazing. I had no idea he was so involved in the whole thing and how, yeah, it's hard.
No, well, look, if you want to really do something, and I've done some of this stuff, you're not going to just take a role in the passenger seat of this van. You're going to be driving it. If it's your character, it's your process, it's your dream and your creation, and all you're going to be doing is talking to people going, not what I have in mind, that he wouldn't say this, I don't want to do that. Then you're going to have a lot of people at executive levels trying to talk you out of stuff that's yours, and you sort of know it on an instinctual level, but you can't really prove it. You know, you just feel it. You kind of know it because it's your world and you've built it.
You have to be so strong. You have to be so strong as an artist. And as artists, we are, we have foundational cracks in us. That's why we do what we do for a living somehow. But to know that this is the right way, I mean, that he said Gary Panter, the guy that designed all of that Pee-wee's Playhouse, it's like they'd never seen that before in children's television.
Well, what they'll do is they'll get you, the studio or whoever's cutting the checks will go, we've contacted the three guys that did Soupy Sales Show, and the other guy did Wonderama, and then whatever, and then you go,
choose between these three.
I want this drug addict over here who does punk rock album covers,
I couldn't believe that. Didn't that blow your mind? I had no idea about that history.
But that's how you get that.
Yeah.
You can't get that with standard form people. You're just going to get a standard kids playhouse looking thing. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Then the whole part, I forgot about the part. Everyone remembers the Florida theater part. Although they were unclear. I like to drill down on the details. He was gay and he liked gay erotica, but probably more in a kitschy way than a sexual way.
I didn't get to this part of the documentary yet.
Sorry.
So, no, that's okay. I know this. I know the story.
Part two.
Yeah. No, I'm in the middle of part two right now.
Oh, we haven't got. You're right on the edge of the porn.
I'm right at where. So Tim Burton. I didn't realize Tim Burton directed the first film. Holy cow!
I know, it's
and
perfect.
Then he directed the second one, and it failed miserably.
No, he didn't direct the second one.
Oh yes, Randall Kleiser. Sorry, Randall Kleiser.
You have a good memory for names.
No, because I know Randall. I love him. He's got a beautiful house on the North Shore of Hawaii. That I'm like, I wish I could have Hawaii.
It's not Hawaii.
I'm dumbing it down for you white people here.
So
you Alaskans.
He was gay, and also he's kitschy, and then kitschy and gay is it's its own kind of thing. And he collected like kitschy gay erotica, like from the 50s and the 60s.
Oh.
And later on, you're going to find out that comes into play.
Oh.
As well.
Well, I think it was he was conflicted within himself. From the beginning, I'm like, he painted himself into a corner.
Right.
He created this children's show where he couldn't come out and be who he is. And he seemed conflicted about it, saying he could pass, which is, speak for like you can pass as a straight guy. And, he didn't have to pass as a straight guy, but his art took him to a place where you're in a children's show and it becomes forbidden to be who you are. And so it's going to, he blew a gasket and it came out,
Right, but here's the question, and they never addressed it in the doc, and it's never really been addressed. And it would, for me, if I'm trying to figure this case out, I would need this piece of information. And he's kind of, Pee-wee Herman is like John Waters, like gay and kitschy.
Very fascinating character.
So he goes back to his parents' place in Florida. He's like staying with his parents, and he goes into a porn, erotica film, theater or something, right? And then allegedly he was masturbating, he was manipulating himself in this theater. I don't know who you're going to offend in that Dade County porn theater at noon on a Wednesday, but okay.
Leave the guy alone.
And I don't know why we need to take resources like undercover cops and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But here's what they never address. He's gay. So is he in just a porn theater looking at male and female erotica? Or is he in a gay porn Theater.
They didn't say it in the doc?
They never say what it is, and
He probably didn't want them to talk about it. He seemed like he was very in control of even the documentarian.
Well, he's in control of the documentarian, but he's not in control of the media when he gets busted. This is everywhere all the time.
Unless Dade didn't want it known that they have gay porn theaters. Dade being what Dade is.
The media went ballistic because all they would do is show a picture of him as Pee-wee Herman and then split screen into him with his mugshot. And his mugshot, he had a goatee and hair down to his shoulders and looked like a deviant. And it was a perfect A and B for the media to dine on. They went nuts with this thing.
Yeah.
So my question is can we find out? Because
what kind of theater it was?
Well, here's what I'm saying. If I'm Pee-wee Herman, because the whole thing, it's not illegal to go into the theater. It's illegal to
expose yourself.
My argument is if I'm in a theater with straight sex going on, I go, I'm gay. I was just getting in some air conditioning. Now it was hot outside. I was trying to take a load off. I'm gay. Well, why would I masturbate to this heterosexual couple having sex up here?
I think you might have been caught, not red-handed, but whatever.
Well, they said it. But then later on, somebody informed the LAPD that he had underage, pornography at his home, and they raided his home in Hollywood.
Did they actually find anything?
No, what he had was all this old 50s kitschy erotica stuff.
What's sort of like that Betty Page, topless with the haircut and
Barney Page, but
out.
It wasn't Betty. He wasn't interested in Betty. He wanted Barney.
For instance, so that South Trail Cinema.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Sarasota.
Oh man, they got one of the best club sandwiches out there.
Adult theater catering. Primarily, I thought they said that they had catering. It caters primarily to Sarasota. You could have a party there and cater to Sarasota's elderly audience.
So, is it gay or is it straight, or do they have a couple of sections?
Then we'd have to go deeper and find out what was playing on the day that he was there. I'm sure somebody's got that information somewhere.
Also, this was a time when people had VHS recorders. Like, it seems weird to leave
go to
the
a theater.
House. You know what I mean?
Again, the social community, being with like-minded people that you can share the experience with, and it's less lonely in the world.
Yeah, it takes a village to beat off.
It takes a village, people, I guess. So I was curious, and then I felt sorry for him later on. I felt bad for him the whole time, but then when they raided his house and child, which is about the worst thing you can ever say about anybody.
Yeah.
None of it was true.
And none of it was true. Yeah.
Right, but it doesn't matter. All right. So, you got to watch the rest of it because it's interesting.
Yeah. I had to turn it off because I was too tired. I knew I had to come here today.
And also every story, or maybe it's just the ones they do the docs about, I feel like they all just have to end up sad. You know what I mean? Like, they always do that thing where it's like,
it's
after
to make you
the
empathize with when they say he died like days later. That was pretty shocking, though, that he was doing this and he's talking. He looked totally healthy. It looked like there was nothing wrong with him, but he died days later. That's trippy.
Yes, I know. Look, first off, everyone always dies at the end, so maybe it is sad. And it's just like, and you don't die falling off a Pegasus that you're riding into the clouds. You get cancer, and then he was a shell of himself, and he died, and it was sad to see that
Hantavirus.
That's how it goes. So that's how it goes. But he had an interesting ass life.
Yeah, I had no idea he was such an artist, and I studied with that same Gary Austin at the Groundlings. I had done like one of his sessions of improv, and I had no idea that was Paul Reubens' past. And all these, and Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was his partner on the show. I didn't know that.
I sort of knew that, and I don't know if you got to the part where they talked to Phil Hartman.
Wait. So after he left as Captain Jack or whatever, not Captain.
There's a clip. You can find a clip of Phil Hartman. I think he was talking to Howard Stern, and And, Phil kind of brought up a decent point, which is like, I can paraphrase, but Phil went to SNL.
Right.
And Pee-wee went on to
making his movies.
Yeah, but we're talking about lunch pails and dolls and merch,
merchandising.
and we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar empire.
It rivals Stitch merchandise.
Yeah, we're talking about an empire, right? So let's just say you're the dude and you're at the Groundlings and it's in the late 70s or early 80s or whatever, and that's just your buddy and you're just kind of knocking around and you're sitting there smoking pot, drinking coffee after taking Cynthia Seghetti's improv class, and you're just knocking it around, like we should do a live Pee-wee show. And you go, all right, I'll do Captain whoever, and then we should have a genie or something like that. And he's like going, okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
you
good.
think it would be partnership,
and
like co-produced
you
by.
develop this whole thing, but nobody, everyone kind of goes, well, why don't you get a lawyer to buy? And it's like, they're artists.
Yeah.
They're high on pot. Everyone's poor. No one's even thinking about
They did a lot of drugs, apparently. And that's
what this could turn into.
Yeah.
But at some point, it turns into something. And the person that's hammering all the checks never says to the person that co-created, essentially, the show, like, I'm going to break you off 10% for...
So he never gave
Phil
Phil Hartman or who's the other guy, the third guy, the genie guy? He never gave them a part of that?
According to Phil Hartman, no.
Wow.
No reaching out. Now, I get it. It's murky a little bit, sometimes a little gray area. Like Pee-wee Herman created the character. Paul Reubens created the character. It was his idea. It was blah, blah, blah. And so... I would say to Paul, I would go, well, I don't say a 50-50 split, but for those who are there,
give him 10%,
who are helping to bang some of the stuff out and develop the stuff with you, maybe a 5% or 10%, or maybe not even in perpetuity, maybe for the next 10 years
check.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Check. Yeah, just
that would have been a nice thing
something symbolic,
to do. So that's why they didn't talk. I thought... Yeah, that's interesting. The way he said it, I thought he was saying that Phil Hartman went to SNL, became a big star, and that's why he didn't talk to me anymore. Our relationship was over. I didn't know it was because of that financial piece.
I have found that everyone gives you their version of the story. They never really give you that. No one ever goes, Phil worked really hard on this show with me, and now he's pissed because I didn't give him anything. That's not the way anyone says anything.